Meeting in France. After their meeting, the U.S. president said Russia should make a deal to end the war in Ukraine, citing mounting casualties. The two men meeting now. Let's listen in.
Very good stories to tell. What's going on? He wants to see a settlement, and I think President Putin wants to see a settlement. And usually that means a settlement, but who knows? This is a tough one. But I just, we just had our NATO meeting, and it was a great meeting. You probably heard it was a great meeting. There was a lot of love in that room, a lot of unity, and I don't think it could have been. Marco, what do you think? It couldn't have gone much better. Do you have a feeling as to what you just saw?
Very positive. A lot of unity, strength in that unity.
Yeah, really good. Scott, what do you think?
Yes, sir. All the Europeans, they attributed you to saving NATO, and they want to do what they're supposed to do and do the right thing.
Yeah, there was something very special, and I will say that what they've done with Turkey and President Erdogan has been a friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Strong man, good man, and he's done a fantastic job. Every road, everything's perfect. He's from the airport to the destination, everything's been perfect. So we had a really good meeting, and we thought this would be a good time for President Zelenskyy and I to meet, and we'll see what we can do. But we've actually developed a good relationship. It's hard to believe, right? From the Oval Office to now, I think we've developed a very good relationship. And
this is not the end.
No, this is not. This is going to be the beginning, maybe.
Yeah.
Just the beginning. And the country has a lot of future. It has such great land, such great assets, such great people. And you have a lot of people. I was with a group in Poland, and you have a lot of people in Poland, and which is a terrific country with a really great president. I happen to endorse him, and he's doing a very good job. And they were saying they love Poland, but they really want to go back. You're going to get a lot of people back when this is over. They left some, and they're all. I think they're going to come back. A big percentage are going to come back. So we're going to have a good talk, and we're going to see how it all goes. And Mr. President, would you like to say something?
Thanks so much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for this meeting, and we are very thankful, as always, to your support, American support, bipartisan support. Thanks for the invitation to this summit, and I think that I agree with you. We have a lot what to discuss and what to speak about, and of course we are thankful for the Pearl program, and we want to share with you some details what we want to raise during our meeting. Air defense is the priority. The second point, or maybe the first, about negotiations. I think yes, we understand what to do. It's our estimation what to do, how to bring peace, and I hope that you will do. I'm sure that you will do everything to stop this war. Yeah, and I'm very happy that our side began to work on drone deal, and it's very good beginning. And I hope that today I will have possibility to also to discuss with you some very important details. Thank you so much.
Well, we've settled a lot of wars, and this one is the one that I thought maybe would be the easiest. But Putin's a difficult character, and this guy's a difficult character. It's not the easiest thing, and there's a lot of commitment, and there's a lot of love of the countries and everything else. But I think we've made a lot of progress in the last couple of weeks, and we'll see how it all goes. So, do you have any questions?
President Trump, sir. President Trump.
With the Iran ceasefire possibly over, can we expect the resumption of full-scale hostilities?
They are behaving very badly, as they have for 47 years. And, we hit them hard last night after they launched. They launched a couple of, you don't have to know about this, you got stuff on your mind, but they launched a couple of drones and one rocket, one missile, and at ships, because they were in the strait, which they have every right to be. And so we hit them very hard last night, very, very hard. Probably hit them hard again tonight. I'll give them a little warning, we're going to hit them hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them. It's like, for instance, we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about the denuclearization of Iran, because that's what the war is. It's not a war. It's really the denuclearization of Iran. And we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about just that. That's because my whole thing is not about regime change. It's not about, although I think it's regime change when you knock out the first group, the second group, and now you're I think that's maybe the ultimate regime change. But that's not what it's about. It's about, we don't want them to have nuclear weapons. And it's denuking or denuclearization. And I think we've made a lot of progress. And they'll get out of the room. We'll talk about it like we're here. They'll agree on everything, and then they'll go and have a news conference and say we never even talked about it. They're cuckoo. There's something wrong with these people. And for 47 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East, and they're not the bully anymore. They're not the bully anymore. And all we want, it's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's what I'm there for.
President Trump, sir. President Trump.
If they did, they'd use it, and we're not going to let that
President
happen.
Trump, sir.
Daniel?
You've made a career making deals in very challenging situations. Speaking to President Zelenskyy, speaking to President Putin, in your view, sir, what is the most pragmatic pathway forward to finding a long-term peace deal?
I just think they're going to make a deal. Look, this deal has been in the works for a long time. It's got the pluses, the minuses. They know what it is. He knows what it is better than anybody. And I just think it's sometimes, I used an analogy, and it sounds simple, but it's sort of true. You have two kids in a park, and they don't like each other, and they start fighting. Sometimes you have to let them fight, let them see that it's tough. It's tough. Fighting is tough. And he's done an amazing job. Look, he's been very effective. Now he's had the best equipment because he's had our equipment, and he's had great. But somebody has to use that equipment, and you have a lot of brave people that are using that equipment. And Russia, it's a big country, but it's a big force. Russia's always been a big fighting force. So it's. But I really believe it's ready. It's very interesting because you'd almost say it's worse than ever, and maybe it isn't. Sometimes with war, and you study war, and I've studied it so long, for years, long before I did this, sometimes it's when it gets the worst. And I don't know that it's the worst right now. It's consistently bad. They lost 25,000 people were lost, kids, young people, last month. And we had a month, 35 2 months ago. And I would say more Russians. But it's just, they're people. They're people. And there's actually very little difference between the people. I mean, it's like the Russians and Ukrainian people. And they can get along. But it's a nasty war. Thousands and thousands, mostly soldiers, are being killed. The battlefields, I see pictures and it's horrible. He thinks it's horrible. We all think it's horrible. And the president wants to get it done, and I believe that President Putin wants to get it done, and that should be a good combination. Thank you.
Mr. President, what is your assessment on Ukraine's strike on Russian oil refineries and military factories?
Where are you from?
Ukraine.
Phrase the question differently, please.
Ukraine delivered strikes on Russian military factories and on oil refineries, and they ran out of gas.
Marco, why don't you answer that? Because you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, I think what you're discussing is the ability of Ukraine to reach deep inside of Russia and conduct strikes.
Sure.
I think that's one of the dynamics that's changed in this war over the last few months, and that is that Russians are finding it more difficult to defend their own airspace. And what we hope that means is that it's going to create the space now to negotiate the end of this war.
It's an escalation, but it's also an escalation that can help lead to an end. And,
Mr. President,
what makes you think that Mr. Putin might be seeking for the settlement?
so where are you from?
Radio Free Europe's Ukrainian service. I'm from Ukraine.
Okay, good. Because I talked to him. I talked to him. I talked to President Zelenskyy, and I think that's all I've done. My whole life I made deals. I guess becoming president was making a deal, right? It was like a lot of little individual things. In the end, it's making a deal. And that's what I do. And I do it well, and I know when people want to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal. And I do feel that President Zelenskyy would like to get back to rebuilding his country as opposed to, having all of this death and destruction. Ukraine has tremendous potential. He understands that. We talk about that. He talks about that more than he talks about the war. To me, I think you might find that more exciting than the war. It's brutal. The other's the beauty of it. I think he'll build a great country. I think he's going to build it. We have a little stake in that country now because we have some land in that country, but we have minerals. It's among the wealthiest. It's among the best land anywhere in the world for rare earth. And we have some rare earth. I look forward to taking advantage of it at the right time.
Mr. President, Europe to make Patriot missiles in Europe.
He's one of my favorite soldiers. I see him. He's central casting. Right? You doing okay?
Yes, sir.
We see him at meetings. He's good. He's done a great job. Great job.
Trying to do our best, sir.
Yeah. Great hero, actually.
Mr. President, will you allow Europe to make Patriot interceptors in Europe? Are you comfortable with licensing that technology?
About what?
Patriot interceptors to be made in Europe.
And you're talking with respect to Ukraine. Well, we're going to talk about that. Look, it's a defensive weapon, which I like, better than an offensive weapon. It's the best. So I was saying we have an aircraft carrier, which is one of the most beautiful in the world. It's one of the biggest, the Abraham Lincoln. And 2 months ago, we had 100, I told this story yesterday, we had 111 missiles shot by the Islamic Republic of Japan. They were shot at the aircraft carrier over a period of about 1 hour. 111 missiles going to a very expensive ship, and every one of those missiles was knocked down. Pretty much most by Patriots, but by other means also, as you know.
Yeah.
Other less expensive means. It's even better when you do that. But out of the 111 missiles, every one of them was shot down. It didn't hit the ship, and bad things happen, right, when that happens. So think of that, over a period of 1 hour, these missiles are coming at you, and every one of them shot down. So I think one of the things we're going to be talking about is, as you know, the companies, we have great power over the companies. Those companies that make the Patriot and make all of the great stuff, the Tomahawks, all of the great stuff. We have the best stuff. Many things. The Patriot's great, but we have many, many great things. You see that with Venezuela. You see it with Iran. Look, Iran has been wiped out. Iran, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, everything's gone. But one of the things I think we're going to be talking about today, a little birdie told me this, about the fact that we'll give them the right to make Patriots. We'll show them how to do it. It's very complex, actually, but you'll figure out the complexity quickly. And we're talking about that, and the company that makes them, which is building now 4 plants, all of our companies will be able to do this in 2 to 3 months. If you order a Patriot, now you have to wait a long time for them. Same thing with Tomahawks. We have a lot of certain equipment, but they call it the elite equipment, and you don't need elite equipment necessarily for a war. But so one of the things we're going to be talking about is we're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool, right?
Very.
This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I'd say make them yourself. We haven't informed the company of that yet, but that'll work out all right. I'm sure they'll be thrilled. But they'll be able to do it. You'll be able to figure that out. Most countries couldn't do that.
Yeah.
If I said that to most countries, they wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But this is a very ingenious group. And what I like about that, it's a defensive situation as opposed to an offensive. But I think one of the things you might want to be talking about is that. That's what I heard. Little birdie told me that.
President, on Iran, can you clarify, does the end of the ceasefire mean that we are back to a full-scale
As far as I'm
military
concerned,
conflict?
look, they violate the agreement every day. They lie, they cheat, they kill people. They've been killing people for 47 years. They knocked out the SS Cole. We lost, 200 people more. That was a long time ago. For 47 years, no president did anything about that. Well, Obama actually gave them vast amounts of money. you'd like this. He gave them a plane load of money, $1.7 billion in green cash. They loaded up a Boeing 757. Remember the old 750? It was a beautiful plane loaded up with cash. They took all the seats out, and they took all of the cash from Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. banks. They had no money. They took every ounce of cash, put it in, flew it to Iran, and gave them the money. I wonder what these guys thought of when the door opened and cash fell out of this big plane, beautiful plane. And then on top of that, they gave them billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, they gave it to the wrong country, frankly. You want to know the truth. And it began. That was pretty much the Obama deal. That was one of the worst tragedies that happened. That's what happened in the Middle East. That deal set back that whole situation. They went with it. Frankly, they picked the wrong country. They picked the wrong country. POC. What a terrible deal. I call it the Obama nuclear waste deal, because what he did with that deal is he caused tremendous hardship in the Middle East. It was a terrible, terrible thing to do. And we've been just the opposite. Our deal is a wall to a nuclear weapon. His deal was a road to a nuclear weapon. They'll never build a nuclear weapon under our deal, but I don't know if we're going to have a deal. We may just do it without a deal, because you know what? It's easier. Because these people, they lie and they cheat, and you have an agreement, and they'll go outside. For instance, they agreed, well, we'll never have a nuclear weapon. They agreed. Then they go outside, they have a news conference where they leak that we never discussed the subject. Now, who would believe we never discussed the subject? Because for me, that's 99.9% of what we're doing. It's denuclearization of Iran, okay? So when you ask, our guys can continue. You know, Steve is great, and Jared, and all the guys. They know him very well. Yeah, actually, they're working on your stuff, too. I wonder which. I picked two beauties. You know what? We settled 8 wars. I got a couple of beauties here. But Steve's great, and Jared's great. You know, they're the right guys. And we'll see what happens. But I will say this. Iran, they've misbehaved for 47 years. They've killed our soldiers, they've killed our people, and they've killed a lot of people all over the Middle East and elsewhere. And the roadside bomb was their preferred, the preferred weapon was by Soleimani, the roadside bomb, where it would explode under a truck. We actually built trucks with floors, steel this thick. And then all they did was they made bigger bombs. And we have young guys around, not walking around because they have no legs, but their legs were blown off, their arms were blown off, their face was blown off, and they live because of modern medicine. You can do anything, but they're living like in hell. Their whole life changed because of Iran. And that was 96% of the people that used that, they were made in Iran. And so we have a score to settle too.
Mr.
President, you say that President Putin is ready to finish this war. What if he doesn't? Are you ready to put pressure on Russia? Are you ready to put more sanctions? Well, we have a lot of pressure.
We have a lot of pressure on President Putin. You know, I don't think he likes what's going on. I don't think he's thrilled with what's happening. There's a lot of pressure on President Putin to get it done. I think there's pressure on everybody to get that one done. A lot of pressure.
Mr. President, what's your security guarantee for Ukraine?
The guarantee?
Yeah, security guarantee for Ukraine.
The security guarantee you're talking about? I mean, not that we want to do it. We'll do it to save lives. Look, Ukraine's very far away. We have an ocean separating us. What I'm doing is I'm trying to save lives. A lot of lives are being lost. I also think that it's a country with great potential. I think if this kind of brain power can go toward rebuilding the country instead of fighting a war, I think that country is going to do fantastically well. And likewise, Russia, look, they're devoting a lot of energy. a lot of energy. Do you have a question for President Putin, please?
Пане президенте, чи можете ви
Do you have a
сказати,
question for President
Yes,
Putin?
yes.
Not Zelensky. Yeah, what would you like to ask him? Because I'm going to ask him that question.
I have a question. Last
Can you
year,
sleep at
last year
night?
you called Russia a paper tiger, referring that they're not doing that
Who
great.
did I call?
I'm from Telegraph TV, Ukrainian media.
No, give us a question, not for Zelensky. Give us a question for Putin.
Can he sleep
Why
at
is he
night?
attacking
Yeah.
Because I'm speaking to him today.
Yeah.
Putin,
Why is he
Give me a
attacking
good, hard question.
cities who wants peace?
when will he end this war?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever asked him that question. I'm going to ask him that question.
Пане президенте,
Mr. President, what's the status of a drone deal between the U.S.
Say
and
it?
Ukraine? What's the status
By the
of
way,
a drone?
I will tell you, though, he's going to tell you that he wants it ended as soon as he can end it. He wants it ended. He wants to end it soon. And I ask him, and we talk. I talk to him a lot. I talk to him a little bit less, but the relationship is very good. But I talk to President Putin a lot. He wants to end the war.
Mr. President,
A lot of people don't believe that.
Doesn't he
What's
want
the
all of
status
the
of a drone deal between Ukraine?
What are President Putin's conditions for ending the war? Do you know what?
Well, they were certain conditions that were a little bit different. I think they're changing. I think they're probably getting a little bit better toward some of the things that you'd like. It's been tougher in Russia. It's been a lot tougher than it was supposed to be. I mean, in all fairness, this was supposed to be this is a war that would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened. You'd have a full country, you know. I mean, just a shame that it happened. But no, this is something that I think Zelenskyy wants to do and Putin wants to do. They want to get it done. Ask the president that question. Ask him.
Пане президенте, ви знаєте, на яких зараз умовах Володимир Путін готовий завершувати війну в Україні? Чи ж вони змінились?
Go ahead.
No, I don't know what I don't know what conditions Putin now wants for this peace. So I think that they are changing in any way because at the very beginning of full-scale war, he was stronger, and now I think he is losing initiative on the battlefield. I think his army, but that's why I think that because of technologies, because it's not the question now of number of people. People are our heroic people are very important, but now it's not the question of only number of people. First of all, people and technologies, people with technologies. Now I think that we have better steps, technological steps further than Russia, maybe quicker. Because you know that they produce a lot of different things which are tough, strong against us, but we are quicker. And that's why I think that now initiative moved to our hands. Not totally, but moved. We are trying to move this war to the sky from the battlefield. That's why we now begin to control the battlefield. This is very important. It's difficult when you have less people to move them back. But we found another way how to do it, to cut their logistic for their army. It's about weapon, petrol, diesel, without massive human losses. That is the difference between us, by the way. Russia is,
He's got a lot of support. I just left the room with, where they have, mostly European, you have Canada, but mostly European countries. And they have great support for Ukraine, and really great support. One of the things you talk about questions for Putin, but one of the things that I talked to him about was where would you want to meet? And he said ideally in Moscow. I said you're not going to meet in Moscow. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. But he'll meet, and Zelensky's going to meet, and something's going to happen that's going to be positive. And I hope it's going to happen soon, because they have to, number one, lives, but number two, building your country, because it's got a tremendous future, in my opinion. Yeah.
Where was it held and when would that happen?
I don't know.
Mr. President,
President Putin said, I would love to meet in Moscow. And I said, I don't think, I have to put myself in his position. I don't know that he'd go to Moscow. Maybe he would. Would you go to Moscow?
It's difficult. There are a lot of Ukrainian drones there. That's right. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Europe.
No, it's hard. It's hard to go to Moscow.
Mr. President, how to
ask him that question.
Mr. President, how to ensure that Ukraine will not be attacked again by Russia?
What about?
How to make sure that Ukraine will not be attacked by Russia again?
Look, you mean in the future?
Yes.
You mean after there's an agreement? Well, we're going to work on a security guarantee that, and Russia respects us a lot, and we're going to work on some kind of a security. If we can make the right deal, we'll help Europe. I mean, Europe is going to be watching it, but we're going to be helping them, and we'll work on some kind of a security package that will make sure. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that if we make a deal, Russia is going to be very happy, and they're going to get on with other things. They have, by the way, as a country too, they have tremendous potential. They have tremendous land, valuable land that they can do things with, and they have tremendous potential. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see, that question is, oh, they're going to attack again. I don't see it at all. I think they've had it. This has been going on for almost 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? I mean, it's a tribute because it's a bigger country, strong country, and it's an amazing tribute. Anything else?
With the Patriot missiles, President Zelenskyy has said that Ukraine needs Patriot missiles now. Over 50 Ukrainians have died in recent airstrikes just in the last few days. So in addition to these production licenses, which will take time, would you consider
Not that
providing
much time, actually.
Would you consider providing any to Ukraine immediately?
We have Patriots, but we don't have that many. We need them for ourselves too, you know. Some, yeah, I mean some, but I think they can produce them pretty quickly. Once we explain it, we'll bring the company here. They'll work with the company. They have a great ability to produce weapons, pretty complex weapons.
Will you go to Ukraine?
President, do you have any deadline?
Ukraine?
Will you go to Ukraine?
I would, yeah.
Do you have any deadline when you want to reach
I'd
it?
rather have the war be over.
When will it happen? Do you have any
I'm
deadline?
not sure a Secret Service would be thrilled.
Are you willing to close this deal?
I think the people are incredible. And, I mean, like Kiev, it would be nice to get it before any more damage is done, to be honest. It's such a beautiful city, right? And, yeah, I would go to Ukraine at the right time.
Do you have any deadline? Do you have any deadline when you want to reach a deal between Ukraine and Russia? Do you have any deadline in that regard?
No, I don't have a deadline. You can't have a deadline. It's, you know, it's too much going on. But I think you're going to have a deal. I think, you know, I've been very good. You know, we had certain deals like Azerbaijan and some of the deals that we made, and they've been going on for 32 years. And they said it's an impossible thing to get them solved. Eight different deals. Even in the Congo, it was. Think of it. You have the Congo and Rwanda. That was 14 million people dead, a lot of them with machetes. It's a horror. We got that one solved, or you know, it flares up every once in a while, I must say. But we got deals done that weren't doable. But if you look at India and Pakistan, they were at it. We get that. We get them done, and when we get them done, I find that people are not anxious to go back into it. I think we'll have you once mentioned the word security guarantee in the Oval Office.
Yep.
And, you know, I think they're going to need some kind of a security guarantee, but we're going to work with them. That's important. I think he thinks that's a very important thing. Yeah.
The security guarantees are very important.
And they'll live by it.
Partially, President said about Patriots and licenses. The Patriot system is the best, you know, in the world for today. The best anti-ballistic system. So we used a lot of.
That's the best.
Yeah, the best one, and checked everything during the war. So this is true. So with all respect to other partners, we are thankful for all the systems. Patriots.
Well, they had different systems in Venezuela.
Yeah.
So Venezuela had systems that didn't work. We didn't have one plane shot down. We didn't have one. We had one helicopter operator who was incredible. He landed it perfectly, and his leg was almost blown off. And we gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor because very few people could have landed that. You know, you land them with your feet, really. more than anything else, and he landed it. He was really in bad shape. And at the State of the Union, we gave him, he was a handsome guy, big handsome guy, but we gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor at the State of the Union. So, look, he wants to get it done, and we're going to get it done.
What's the status on a drone deal between Ukraine and the U.S.?
And what's that?
What's the status of a drone deal between Ukraine and the U.S.?
Well, we would buy their drones, and we make drones. We make great drones, but they have an ability to make a lot of them, which is, right, Marco, amazing that in a war situation, they make them. They make them in basements. They make them wherever the hell you have a little shelter, even if you don't have shelter, I think, I suspect, right? It's an amazing ability. Very few. Well, that's why I say with the Patriots, they would be able to do it. Most countries would not be able. They don't have the talent. You have very talented people. So, yeah, I think we're going to make that deal. You know, if we made that deal, we'd have great protection. I love the protection. Think if you had a lot of Patriots, you'd never be hit. As an example, in Kiev, where they get hit with missiles, those missiles, like what I said about the Abraham Lincoln, the missiles would be shot down. Yeah. So, and I think you'd start making them pretty quickly. Right? You like the idea?
No, it's a great idea.
I think everybody likes that one.
As part of security guarantees, are you ready to close the skies in case Russia attacks again?
Close what?
To close the skies over Ukraine in case Russia.
It's been
As a part of security guarantees, are you ready to impose a no-fly?
If it's necessary, yeah. I mean, look, I tell you, when we have a deal, we're going to have a deal. Security guarantee or no security guarantee. If we have a deal, we're going to have a deal. We're not going to have to worry about what you're saying. We're going to have a deal. I think if we come to a solution, which I think we will, we're going to have a deal. Now, we want to make sure the deal sticks. Some people don't think it will. I think it will. I'm sure it will. I'm not sure it will with Iran. If we make a deal with Iran, I'm not sure that will stick.
May I ask you, what does your...
Because I found them to be very dishonorable people. Yeah.
Are you going to reimpose the naval blockade?
I don't find that with him, and I mean, I don't want to upset him, but everything I've done with President Putin has been okay. It's been good. He's going to say, oh, but I would expect you to say that, but that's good. I don't think anything's going to be broken, and we're going to do a security guarantee in case it is. But with Iran, 47 years, this should have been done by another president a long time ago, or somebody else, another country. But they got stronger and stronger, and now they're weak.
Are you going to reimpose the naval blockade on Iranian ports?
We knocked out 159 ships in 1 week. That's good even for you, right? 159. Their entire navy is at the bottom of the sea. And now they have little boats, little tiny boats that go around. And we knocked about 28 of them out last night with the same weapon we use for the drug people. You know, drugs are down, by the way, drugs by sea are down 97%. Meaning nobody wants to get into those boats and take drugs into it. They're down 97%. And we're using the same thing for the mine boats. You know, they like to drop mines in. And we hit a lot of them last night, like 28. We knocked out 28 boats last night, little ones. That's all they have is little ones.
Are you going to try to take out more tonight?
Will we go tonight? You know, normally I wouldn't tell you. But you know what? There's not a thing they can do about it. So the answer is probably.
President Trump.
Terrible military strategy. He just said he's going tonight. Yeah, they deserve it.
President Trump, what is the effectiveness of last night's attack? What message does that send to what's left of the Iranian
Which attack are you talking about?
The attack that you guys had on Iran last night. The strikes last night?
Oh, I think it has a tremendous impact. Well, first of all, we took out additional, you know, they were trying to rebuild their radar, and they had about 60% built. Now they have to start all over again. Look, we're not attacking at the highest level. The highest level are the bridges, which we can knock down. I would say in one day we knocked down every single bridge in Iran. There's not a thing they can do about it. Their electric manufacturing facilities, right? their electric plants where they make their electricity there. We will, if we have to, we'll take them out. I don't want to do that, but if we have to, we'll take them out. They have desalinization plants. We'll take them out if we have to. I hate to do that. That's probably the one I would like not to do least. We attacked Carg Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil, because maybe we'll take over Carg Island. You know, we may take over Carg Island. There's not a thing they can do about it. But I said, don't hit the pipes. Just hit everything else. And they hit it. They may hit it again tonight. So, you know, as per your question, normally I'm not that way, but they really deserve it because they're saying they want to make a deal, but they don't. You know, they asked for a timeout. They wanted to go to the funeral of Khomeini, and I said, give it to them. And they start shooting missiles. I mean, it was the craziest thing. Now, we did kill him, you know, so I guess you have to look at it that way, but the funeral took place. And they wanted to have a period of time. And they also asked that we not kill them. And we said, we're not going to kill you. They were worried we'd kill them during the funeral. I mean, if you can believe it. What a crazy... Did you ever think I'd be doing this for a living? Marco? Did anybody ever think I'm doing... Maybe Pete, but this wasn't supposed to be for me. Pete loved this stuff from day one. But they said to us, please don't kill us during the funeral. I said, I won't. And we didn't do anything. In fact, we made it safe for them, actually. And what happens? They try and knock out two ships, the Saudi and I guess Kuwait, right? Kuwaiti? Oh, no, Qatari. In addition, really three.
Three, yes, sir.
So you had three of them. And they're just, I don't know. I just don't know with them. A lot of people say they're very dishonorable people. And they can't keep a deal, so we'll see. Now, as to whether or not Steve Witkoff, Jared, and JD and everybody working on that will talk, I guess they can talk, but I'm not seeing it with them, with the people. My whole life is deals, I don't see it. I don't see it with them.
Well,
and there may be a big attack, and it'll knock out a lot of stuff. We don't knock out nothing. We knock out a lot. Pete, do you want to tell them about last night?
Yes, sir. Last night, as you said, a lot of small craft that they were trying to harass shipping with. So that was a big part of what we targeted. Underground facilities where they were storing drones or missiles, coastal defense sites, radar sites, surveillance sites, anything used to harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So anything they thought they had rebuilt or capability they were using was a target last night. And tonight, if we need to, on your order, Mr. President, we will hit even more and even deeper, because that's the consequence.
And we may put down the blockade. We may put it back, the blockade. And it'll only be a blockade for Iran. Anybody else can have whatever they want. Now, of course, they'll drop some mines if they can, if they can do it. But it's hard because we're taking out those little boats now with the same weapon we used to take out the drug lords and the boats coming in by sea. Think of it, 97%. For years, we had fentanyl and all the other drugs coming in from different countries, including Venezuela. And it was, they'd arrest them, they'd bring them to a court, they'd be released, and they'd be back on another boat the next. 97%. What was done in the past had no impact. 97% drugs down coming in by sea. And now we're going to start doing it by land. The land is the easy one. We had to do sea first. And nobody, I think the 3% of the people that still do that, I think they're the bravest people in the world. We should probably give them a medal for bravery. Because and we're using the same exact missile to take out the mine drop. They call them mine droppers. But we have minesweepers, and one of the things that came up today is that European nations, the NATO group, they're sending minesweepers. We don't need them now. We have pretty much the mines that cleared up, but they'll probably drop some more. They're evil people. They're sick people. They're mentally disturbed people. And it should have been done 47 years ago. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
This way, please.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Keep moving. Thank you.
Global instability on display right there. President Trump at the NATO summit in Turkey, about to meet with Ukraine's President Zelenskyy, with the war between Ukraine and Russia now nearly 4.5 years old. Mr. Trump saying the two leaders have developed a good relationship after that disastrous, tense meeting in the Oval Office last year. Also today, the president has warned that American forces will hit Iran hard again tonight after declaring earlier the Iran ceasefire is now over. Let's bring in NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba, who is traveling with the president. She joins us now live from Turkey. Monica, a lot to get through. Let's get with the breaking news here, because the focus of this NATO summit is supposed to be the war between Russia and Ukraine, but now Iran seems to have eclipsed that. Where do things stand with Iran? What's the president saying about that?
Well, earlier today, Joe, the president was asked whether he considered the fragile ceasefire over, essentially, and he said that, in his opinion, it was. And then when he was asked more questions in this meeting, he did preview that there was going to be additional military action that could be expected tonight against Iran in response to what the U.S. says is the fact that Iran is targeting commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz, carrying who they say are innocent civilians who shouldn't be targeted. So he had even his defense secretary, his secretary of state there, try to explain the rationale for this kind of strategy right now, when we should just point out and keep reminding people that we are here in Turkey, which neighbors Iran. We are in the region as all of this is unfolding, and the president is making these decisions that could lead to an escalation of sorts, saying that he has no choice because he is criticizing the Iranian negotiators that just about a month ago he had called very rational people, very smart people, people that he enjoyed dealing with, saying that it was possible when he wanted to say that there had been progress toward a potential peace deal. Now, today, he is calling those same people involved on the Iranian side as unstable. In the words of the president, he said they were even cuckoo, that he couldn't necessarily believe that there would be an eventual final deal or framework here. And he is saying essentially that he's going to continue whether there is a peace process or not, whether there is going to be a path to potential future negotiations or not. He did leave the door open to that resuming, but he seemed to imply that perhaps that wasn't going to be the way that he would, quote, denuclearize Iran, saying that he could do that by going forward with a military strategy and, again, potentially resuming major combat military operations, though he did not confirm that. And when he was even asked specifically whether there was going to be more action tonight, he said, well, I probably shouldn't be telling this to a group of reporters, but it is likely that you can expect that. And then, of course, we have seen both Iran and the U.S. agree on one thing, which is that this exchange of fire, Joe, is an absolute violation of the ceasefire. That's how both sides see it. So where this goes from here now is a major open question.
Yeah, and moments ago, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is there in Turkey, offering some details on the strikes that just happened, saying that the main thing was targeting anything that's been used to harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. And I guess looking forward here, Monica, one of the key questions, is there anything even resembling negotiations between the U.S. and Iran using some sort of third party that's even on the calendar in the future moving forward?
Well, certainly, I think regional allies here are all wondering the same thing, given their efforts. When you talk about Pakistan and Qatar, certainly, and how involved they have been as intermediaries. What's notable also, Joe, is that the 60-day memorandum of understanding, which was inked about 3 weeks ago, would have kind of put this into mid-August. And so now the question is, could this have to restart all over again? We did see one of the pieces of that initial framework start to fall apart, which was that waiver that was issued to Iran initially to be able to restart the process of selling its own oil, which would have been a huge economic point for Iran. That was revoked yesterday by the U.S. Treasury Department, in the words of Secretary Bessent, because Iran was not holding up their end of the agreement of the MOU. So they said that that is something that they were going to be taking away. So again, we're starting to basically see the elements of that initial framework fall apart in real time as we're seeing an escalation in the military action. And so when we talk about when the next time these groups could come face to face to continue discussions, that seems to be a little bit of a ways off. And remember, Joe, that it was supposed to be Vice President Vance who was supposed to be leading these negotiations from the U.S. side of things. He is traveling today, and we haven't heard from him yet on whether he has had any back channel diplomatic discussions. Joe.
Monica, we know also a lot of questions, obviously, about Ukraine. President Trump has been promising a deal between Russia and Ukraine since he took office, but we just heard him say he thought it'd be easy. Then he also called Putin and Zelenskyy difficult characters. So what can we expect from this meeting between President Trump and President Zelenskyy today?
And I picked up on what you talked about in the introduction, which is the president noting how far the relationship has come, that they've come a long way since the Oval Office, where really President Trump and Vice President Vance berated and belittled President Zelenskyy, calling him ungrateful and really kind of dressing him down there in that meeting. There have been other meetings, of course, plenty of them since then, but that is an interesting arc to their relationship, certainly. But there was a really big piece of news from the president off the top there when it comes to the war in Ukraine, which is he announced that basically he's going to allow or help facilitate Ukraine being able to produce its own Patriot interceptor missiles. And the reason that that is notable is that's something that President Zelenskyy has been asking for. He wants the actual Patriots themselves from the U.S. The president said that the U.S. needs them for themselves and can't necessarily give him those ones, but that he will be talking to the company that makes them in order to grant the license for production so that Ukraine can have their own. The question on that, of course, Joe, is the timing of it. How long would that take when the needs on the battlefield are fairly urgent, which President Zelenskyy stressed here today. So the president continues to say he's going to be talking to President Putin, that he's going to see if there is a possibility for some kind of momentum for a conclusion to this war. But we have heard that many, many, many different times, though perhaps with a little bit of the movement here, there could be something that comes from that. But there didn't seem to be anything more concrete beyond that news on the Patriot missiles. And certainly President Zelenskyy is asking for a lot more support, not just from the U.S., but from some of these European allies. And certainly he is getting that, at least vocally. We'll see what that actually translates to. And finally, Joe, the president was even asked if he would consider going to Ukraine. He noted, of course, how dangerous that might be, how difficult that might be. But he said one day when the conditions, he would like to go there and visit in person.
And Monica, speaking of going places, there was sort of this fascinating exchange with the president talking about, at some point Ukraine and Russia would have to be in the same room to reach any sort of deal, where that might happen. And President Trump says he's been telling President Putin it's not going to happen in Moscow. That was a fascinating exchange there because he even got Zelenskyy to sort of weigh in on the issue.
Yeah, and Zelenskyy noted right off the top that that's a place that may not be very safe for him to go, given the drones, given the reach, given what could happen there, for all of the reasons security-wise that the three leaders could be in the same place. Now, remember that all the way back in August when the president traveled to Alaska to meet with President Putin, there was this hope of a trilateral summit where the three were potentially going to be together. That has never materialized, and we'll see. That may still be a ways off. Joe.
All right. Monica Alba, appreciate your reporting there from Turkey. Again, President Trump meeting with President Zelenskyy right now to talk about the war between Russia and Ukraine, and a lot of developments happening over the last few hours between the U.S. and Iran. Be sure to stay with us right here on NBC News Now. We're going to be bringing you the very latest from overseas throughout the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.